Hello, Maddox and I are here to give you a quick tutorial and give you some quick tips on using Google Forms in your classroom. So, the first thing that you should do to save yourself time, your future self will save you, well, thank you, excuse me, is create a Google Form template that has some of the basic things that you always are going to have in a form. So for instance, I always have first name as a short answer text worth no points, but as a required question. So you just toggle this from left to right by clicking on it. Then I have last name as a required question, and then what period they have science. So you'll be using those three questions for all of your classes, for almost all of your forms, whether it's a quiz or a survey or worksheet. So make yourself a template one that you will then go over here to these three little dots and click make a copy to use for specific forms. The other thing that I really like is to create sections. So these first three questions are in one section, and then you click down here on this little equals button, and it says add section. And that way your students will answer those generic questions before they really get into the actual activity itself. And it's nice for just kind of breaking it up, and it doesn't make the form quite so long. So that's my first tip. In addition, you can play around with the settings over here. So you can have them collect email addresses if you want. I personally don't like that because I don't want to have to match students with their email address. If your gradebook works like that, then great, use that, just click it. I do, however, want to limit my students to one response. So this means they'll be required to sign into Google, and I'm only going to be grading one assignment per student. Depending on the form and what I'm asking them to do, I will play around with these edit after submission or see charts and text responses. If it's a quiz, you can toggle this to assign point values, and you can also toggle it so it will release the grades immediately or after manual review. If your quiz is going to be only automatically graded, I suggest then that you do the release grade immediately. If there's going to be some questions that you are going to go in and grade, I suggest you turn on the later after manual review, just because students will go in and they'll be like, well, this one says I didn't get any points. And it's like, well, it's a short answer question. I need to go in and manually grade it. Save yourself those conversations, those emails. You can also change whether or not students can see the questions that they missed, whether they can see the correct answers and the point values. You can change this for every form. I'm going to show you how I use it for doing attendance and how I use Google Forms in an actual assignment next. So, for an attendance form, in the spring, my school did weekly attendance check-ins, so I had those three same questions, right? And then I had whatever attendance questions I wanted to ask them about. That's all fine and dandy. Now, what I want to show you, though, is if I know I'm going to be using a Google form to check in weekly, or maybe it's daily, and this is how you do record attendance, I don't want to create a response a response sheet for every single Google form. That's a lot of sheets when I know I'm going to get lost in my Google Drive. So instead, what we'll do is we'll click create a response sheet, and I'm going to name it as weekly check-ins. And then I'm going to close out this so you can see. This form will be named, I'm going to go in and name it for the attendance week. So this will be 3/23 check-in. All right, then my student will fill it out all fine and dandy. Then the next week, when my students fill out this 3:30 distance learning weekly check-in, over in responses, I'm going to create a, when I click on create response sheet, I'm actually going to click select existing spreadsheet. And that's where I can go in and click on the weekly check-ins one. So I'll select that and it will pop it up here for me. And now it will have the original one, and it will have, it will not be named on these tabs. So this one you'll see right now, it says form responses 3. Then you can rename it. You could say 3:30 check-in. The nice thing about this is it will make it so that the original form will always be the farthest to the right, and the most recent form will be the current or first tab here. You can rename it, and that way you can see across different weeks how your students are doing with their check-ins. And then you're looking only in one place each week for your assignments. So that is one way to kind of decrease the number of sheets that you have as well. The third thing that I want to show you is how to use a Google form for a practice assignment or worksheet type assignment. So again, I have those 3 required questions. I've created a new section so that they know, like, hey, this is where the actual assignment is going to start. And for my students, this would be like a must-do assignment where they have to get 100% in order for them to get credit. That's just how my class is going to work. But I don't want to have to go in and create multiple versions of this same form. And I also don't want to have to go in and tell them what questions they missed and which ones to redo. So over here under settings, I'm going to click edit after submit, and under quizzes, I'm going to show missed questions. I'm going to unclick correct answers. So they'll only see the questions that they missed. They won't necessarily see what the correct answer was. So this one means that they can go back to these questions and say, okay, I did not get the correct type of symbiosis. Let me reread the question and resubmit. And this allows them to resubmit until they get 100%. This saves me time, but it also allows them to relearn the material and learn it correctly. Okay, the last thing I'm going to show you how to do is you'll notice that this question has text and an image. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So I'm going to add a question. I'm going to type in a random question. And then I'm going to click this little image icon. You can insert an image by uploading it from your computer, by taking a picture, by typing and copying and pasting the URL, searching your photos, Google Drive, or do a Google image search. And I'm going to just say pizza. Insert a nice cheese pizza picture. For example, right? The other thing you can do is you can say, you can give them the option, you can add a picture to their options or their responses. So if this was a multiple choice question and I only wanted to give them a couple options that they could select from, then I could add photos in addition to text or in place of text, so that students who are more visual learners can see the type of response that I'm looking for as well. So that is one way to add images and make your Google Forms a little bit more learner friendly. The last suggestion that I have for you is use answer feedback here. So I'm going to go ahead and show you on a real question how I would actually add it in. So click under answer key and add in some feedback. So if it's an incorrect answer, I tell them, think about which organism is benefiting and which is being harmed. Review your notes on symbiotic relationships and then edit your responses until you have answered all of the questions correctly. The other thing you can do is add correct answer feedback. So it's really nice to do that positive reinforcement. So just say, awesome job. You clearly understand symbiotic relationships. You can also add in video feedback or even a link. So if maybe you wanted here on the incorrect answers, you could link directly to those notes or to your recorded lecture as well, which is awesome. Click save. The last thing is make sure you preview your form. I always catch little mistakes that I made when I'm doing this preview form. It does make you kind of fill it out as you go, but you don't necessarily have to submit it. So that is a really nice way to just make sure that this is a user-friendly form, right? Previewing our work before we share it with students. So those are my tips on getting started using Google Forms for the classroom. Let me know in the comments how you use them, and then hopefully I will be able to record my next video showing you some more advanced tools that you can use Google Forms.